So that was a 6-iron, and that was a pretty perfect strike, felt really good off the face, and you can see that my attack angle was down, it was a negative. And that's what we need with irons. We need that negative attack angle. So if you can hit your irons and you've got a negative attack angle, that's going to guarantee the strike, isn't it? No, it doesn't guarantee the strike. And this is where I see so many golfers going wrong. We're always told that if you can get the low point of your swing, target side of the ball, hit down on the irons, you're guaranteed to strike it. You won't. There is something else which has to be in place. That's what we're going to cover in this video. Take a look at the graphic on the screen here. You can see there's a golf ball, there's some circles, and you can see that the low point is always in the same place relative to the ball. It's always in front of the ball, target side. But as we raise that circle up and we lower that circle, you can see that we would hit really fat shots and really thin shots. And so the height of the circle, or regulating where your circle is relative to the ground, is something which we have to work on. If we don't work on that, you're never going to strike the irons as well as you could. So if I was to place another ball on this tee, and I'm going to use the blast data again, let me explain what I mean. I'm going to hit this ball with a negative attack angle. My golf club is going to be coming down with the low point target side of the ball. Completely topped it, thinned it, didn't get more than about 3 or 4 feet off the ground. But I hit the ground here. My low point was target side of the ball. So if all I'm trying to do is get my low point target side of the ball, there's nothing to stop me hitting that. And then I go, I don't know what to do now because I've got my low point where I needed to be. It was a terrible shot. I actually can't feel my fingers, it was that bad. So we have to regulate the height of the swing. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to give you a couple of little exercises. And the really key message here is that the low point has to be underground. You know, that one there was okay, but it wasn't quite where I needed it to be. So how do we get the low point under the ground? Well, we have to look at what we do in transition. So we're going to do this in 2 ways. We're going to look at the technical side of things, and we're going to look at some skill development. What I have to do in transition is, and I've spoken about this in previous videos, but it's so important. When I set up, my circle sort of rests on the ground. You know, if I look at my golf club and move it forward and back, you know, it's sort of resting, or it's bottoming out where that ball is. So I have to do some things in my swing which shift that low point forwards, but I also have to do some things which shift it down underground. So it has to move in this direction, forward and down. Now to move it forward and down, look what's happening to my head. It's going forward and down. So you look at the great golfers, the great iron players, what do they do in transition? They move forward and down. Just makes perfect sense, doesn't it? If that's what we've got to do to our low point, we need to do that in transition. So the first thing I'd have you do, and I've called this the sink move in previous videos, is you're going to make some backswings, and as you transition from backswing to downswing, you're going to allow yourself to sink into that lead side. So you can see that I'm doing that there, and as I do that, I feel like there's more pressure being applied to that lead side. What that move will do almost instantly is move that low point forward, and it'll move it down. How much does it move down? That's where you need to go and do a little bit of practice, but that's when you can really use strike as a reference for that. So let's go ahead and see if I can make that little sinking move in transition and get this ball at the middle of the club. Hit the ground after the ball, but a much better strike, and therefore obviously the ball flight was much better. So the next little exercise is more skill development. So this drill, I love this drill. It's good fun, it's easy to do, it's something that you can start your practice with, and it's something which probably nobody really does, but it's something you should be doing. You can see I've got 3 golf balls here, and I've got them teed up at different heights. This one is pretty normal tee height for a 6-iron, a little bit higher, and this one is getting close to driver height. So we know that the target side has got to be, the low point's got to be target side of the ball, but we're talking about regulating how high or low the circle is. So what I'm going to try and do is hit these 3 shots from a pretty standard setup. So if we hit this first one, this really for me can just be my normal golf swing. So low point was target side, and I took a divot. Now when we look at this next ball, clearly that's much higher on the tee. So when I hit this one, attack angle, down, negative. That's what I need. But I didn't hit the ground. So I still got that low point where it needed to be, but I regulated the height of the circle. It didn't hit the ground. And that's because I was able to raise that circle up to match the height of the ball. So it was still an attack angle which was negative, but my circle was different relative to the ground. And then we've got this last one, really, really high tee, almost where I hit driver. But again, can I start to regulate the height of my swing? Still hit down, but change where my circle is relative to the ground. Great little exercise. That's not easy. And even that last one, I'd probably say come a little bit higher off the club face than I would have ideally liked. So clearly I need a little bit of work there. Now, you might be looking at the little exercise and thinking, yeah, I get what you're trying to do there, but is that really going to help me? Well, think about where you play golf. Do you play on a driving range? You may well do. You probably practice on a driving range, but you play golf on a course. So you might look at, let's say this second shot here and thinking, well, that's a bit of a pointless exercise. I'd almost guarantee that the next time you play golf, you'll be faced with a shot where the ball is slightly above your feet. That's kind of what we just recreated there. The ball was higher from the ground than it would normally be. Now, we can't just hit those shots heavy. We have to regulate where our circle is relative to the ground and relative to you. So actually what I'm doing with that little exercise is I'm really helping my ability or encouraging me to play better from slopes, ball above, ball below, maybe when the ball's sitting up in the rough a little bit. So if you want to be a great ball striker, and trust me you do, because great ball striking is so closely related to scores. If you improve your ball striking, the scores will start to come down. You have to have your low point target side of the ball. Can't get away from that. But that's not enough. You have to also be able to regulate how high or how low your circle is. The first part of that is the transition, so important. The second part is just to use that little exercise to develop and train your skill.